Welcome to the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Are you doing the best for your client to help them create their legacy? Are you creating a plan that goes far beyond finances to help people ensure that it becomes the driving force behind all decisions? On this podcast, hosts Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller will help you with growing your practice and your clients' peace of mind. Together, they bring the best and brightest minds to share with you how to help your clients develop their best legacy. And now, here are your hosts, Katie Beth and Stan.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Legacy podcast with your hosts, Stan Miller and Katie Beth Hand. Stan and I are so excited to be back with you because today we have big news. We are relaunching this podcast with a more accurate name, the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Don't worry, Your Life, Your Legacy isn't going away, and we will talk about that here in just a minute. But Stan and I wanted to take a few minutes to explain the difference between the two podcasts we have coming up. First, let's talk about the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Stan, talk to us a little bit about who the Legacy Leaders Podcast is for.
Yeah, sure, Katie Beth. I'm happy to do that. So our objective with the Legacy Leaders Podcast is to give us a vehicle to connect with professionals, estate planning attorneys, financial advisors, realtors, CPAs, to talk about how they are growing and building their practice, but in particular, how they connect with clients and prospective clients, how they relate to them, especially around the values that really matter, not just technical tax things or technical financial or legal things, but around the deeper issues and how they use those conversations to enhance their relationships and to build their practice. So we want the Legacy Leaders Podcast to be a real positive, empowering growth tool for professionals, and that's why we've created it.
Perfect. And on for that podcast, it specifically talked to maybe some of our new listeners about the type of topics that we cover, the type of questions we ask our guests.
Well, the people that we interview are, I would say, honestly, really interesting people. I love these interviews because everybody we interview as a guest, and so often I come away thinking, wow, I'd like to hang out with those people. I'd like to have dinner with them. And so one of the questions we ask a lot is to get them to tell us what is it that they do uniquely? What have they found in their ability to relate to clients that they do uniquely that gives them a special connection to clients? It allows them to create rapport and really build a deeper relationship. And it's always fascinating to find out, the different ways that people approach that. And so that's part of it. And also what we find out is that even within the estate planning space or even within the financial advisory space, not everybody has a deep interest in serving every potential client, right? These people develop a specific expertise that really resonates with a certain very specific kind of audience. Some people really want to work with retirees. Other people are motivated to work with young, aspiring entrepreneurs, a totally different audience with different goals, objectives. They're in a different place in their life, and there's a different thought process in how you interact with that audience. And so getting our guests to share how they do that with us, I think it's really useful. It's been actually really useful to me in my own practice.
Absolutely. Just like you, every time we have a guest on, I'm absolutely blown away by the wisdom and just how fun they are. They're fun to talk to. They are fun to listen to. And for industry leaders who are legacy minded, for business people who are legacy minded, really in any industry, the Legacy Leaders Podcast, that's what it exists for, to kind of have those conversations, hear about what people are doing, what's going well for them, what's not going well for them, and also some tips and tricks to build their businesses as well. So for our listeners, do not fear. Everything you have been listening to on what we previously called Your Life, Your Legacy is still going to be available to you. Starting soon, it will just be titled the Legacy Leaders Podcast. So make sure you are following not only Your Life, Your Legacy, but also the Legacy Leaders Podcast. Now, we are taking the Your Life, Your Legacy title, and we are actually creating a second podcast. And Stan and I are so excited about that. We are really looking forward to and have actually already recorded a bunch of episodes for this that have been so powerful. So, we're going to talk to you guys just for a second about what to expect from the new version of Your Life, Your Legacy. This podcast is not necessarily for someone in a certain industry or business. This is for absolutely anyone. And on these podcasts, we interview just really incredible individuals who are doing things all over the world that are creating a better world and making a difference. This is not billionaires or famous business people. These are people like you would meet at your local neighborhood, your church, that are out doing incredible things with their lives. And the topics are all over the board. So just to kind of give our listeners a thought about what to expect, I know we filmed several of these episodes. Stan, talk to us about a couple of the episodes we've recorded so far and what things have been your favorite.
Oh gosh, it's amazing. And you're right, they do really run a gamut. One of our first interviews was with a doctor colleague of ours who in retirement became really, in fact, before retirement, became really passionate about bringing fresh water to children in Kenya. And as a result of his efforts working with charities in northwestern Kenya, he's been able to improve life expectancies among children there just by being able to to bring fresh water, such a simple, obvious thing, right? And this was something that was just, I mean, and this is not a wealthy guy. He's a guy that just had a heart for this, got involved in it, I think, through his church, through a mission, and then one thing, just led to another. We did a great interview the other day with a guy whose passion is coaching kids and working with parents of children who are athletes and dealing with some of the stresses and anxieties that come about, and particularly with parents that become really obsessive about making sure that their kids are rock stars on the football field or basketball court, whatever. And he has some wisdom and insight to share after 40 or 50 years of doing that work. But one of the things that we've learned is that you don't always see this on the news, because if you turn on whatever your favorite channel is, whether it's CNN or Fox or whatever, a lot of the news that you see, I guess you'd have to say, is probably not good news, right? And so it might lead you to think that the amount of bad news is overwhelming in contrast to the good news. But what we're discovering, because we're looking for it now, and what we're finding is that there's just an astonishing amount of really good news. It's just that the people who are doing the things that are good news don't have a megaphone. And so one of our objectives, a really critical objective for Katie Beth and I, with the Your Life, Your Legacy podcast, is to give a megaphone to people down the street from us or down the street from you who are in their own quiet way making a difference. And what we hope is that when you listen to those podcasts, you will at the very least be inspired, and maybe you'll be inspired enough to say, what could I do? How could I make a difference? Because if that guy, given his background, training, experience in wealth or lack of wealth, is able to make a difference in that way, maybe, just maybe, there are needs in the world that I'm uniquely positioned to fill. And we're hoping that that's what you'll hear when you listen to these podcasts. At the very least, I think, when you pop it in, whether you're commuting or however it is you consume our podcast, whether you're watching it or listening to it while you're driving the car or whatever, hopefully at least you'll come away inspired that that there are a lot of really decent people in the world and they're doing amazing things.
Absolutely. So you guys have gotten to hear it here first. We are so excited about both the Legacy Leaders podcast and Your Life, Your Legacy. We can't wait for you all to jump in and listen. Thanks for listening to our big news today, and we will see you soon.
You've been listening to the Legacy Leaders podcast with Katie Beth Hand and Stan Miller. For more information on them and the show, please visit pinnaclelegacylaw.com. If you like what you've learned today, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.